is going on, YouTube and Resonators? It is your boy wtfmikxy here, and we are back for another Wuthering Waves guide. And today I'm gonna take you from hugging your enemies to hitting them with a truck. So let's get right into the video. To start off, I want to talk about the ecosystem. The ecosystem in Wuthering Waves is one of the most confusing but yet unique things about the game. Not only do you morph into echoes you collect around the open world of Wuthering Waves, but these echoes also act as a Resonator's armor or clothes for their main stats. And they have rarities going all the way from 2-star to 3 to 4 all the way up to 5-star. And the way that this ties into dealing more damage with your Resonators is the rarity of your echoes and what substats they provide to your Resonator. As you can see here, you're given a data bank level, and in this data bank level you are restricted to your drop rarity. When you are starting Wuthering Waves, you'll be starting at 2-star rarity echoes, and in the very early game aspects of your playthrough, it is very easy to fall victim of leveling up those low cost echoes. So to avoid wasting a lot of time in the early game and a lot of materials that you're going to need later on in the end game, do your best to farm lots of echoes in the open world and get your data bank level up, because the higher your data bank level goes, the better drops you will get for your echoes and the higher chance of getting a 5 or a 4-star echo. A quick tip that helped me with my echo grind is looking through the echo gallery to see which echoes that I have yet obtained in that rarity. And you could actually benefit from this because if you go to your echo gallery, you could actually track them down within your region, or at least it will give you the closest spot where the echo is located so that we can farm them for your data bank rank. For me personally, I only leveled up 2 Resonators in my playthrough. I used Rover and Yang Yang and didn't really care about the echoes I got early on in the game. So once I was able to obtain 4-star echoes, I used the 2 cost and 3 cost and the data merge feature to have a slight possibility of getting a 4-star echo or an echo that I have not yet discovered in that rarity rank. So that way it would take 1 echo off the checklist of having to go hunt down in the open world of the game for my data bank level. Of course, I would not recommend doing this with your 4-star echoes to try to obtain 5 stars. Unless, of course, if the stats on the 4 stars are absolutely abominable, then you would be testing your luck with the gacha gods to see if you would actually pull a 5-star echo out of the merge feature. A huge bonus tip that I could also give you guys, that if you have co-op unlocked after hitting level 22, you can grab a friend and actually do co-op farming for the echoes, which high key will leave you at a disadvantage if you are pursuing the game solo. So if you are a diamond a dozen and you're looking for a community Discord that's playing Wuthering Waves and has a lot of co-op players to play with, after this video, feel free to click on the link in the description to join my community Discord. Now let's talk about those stats that I mentioned before. Your Resonators have different base stats such as HP, attack, defense, energy regeneration, crit rate, and crit damage, for example. Now whenever you absorb an echo, that echo is automatically given different stats, and these stats are completely randomized. For example, this crownless echo has crit rate and attack, which are 2 very good stats to improve my damage on my Resonator. However, there is more that goes into this than just simple stats. Each Resonator follows a specific element as far as their path goes. Most of the time when you're working on a Resonator that's supposed to deal damage for your team composition, when absorbing echoes or rolling for stats, you want to focus on getting crit rate, crit damage, and attack to improve your damage. Also following that rule, my Rover is the element of Havoc, which ultimately means as far as getting those really great stats, I want my echo that I recruit to my team to be Havoc as well. So that way Rover will deal even more damage from the benefits of the Havoc trait, which is called the Sonata effect. To give you an example, when you pair 2 Havoc echoes up with Rover, she's gonna deal extra Havoc damage. Now if instead you use 5 Havoc echoes, Rover will deal more damage using basic or heavy attacks. If you are feeling adventurous, you can use 2 different types of echo elements on one singular Resonator and basically take benefits from both types of elements, and that is basically how you can make your own Resonator builds. A really good reference point to look at while you're building your Resonators is looking at their overall stats. These stats will tell you everything you need to know as far as how strong and what stats your current Resonator has. So when you make a change or a switch, or you're trying to improve your Resonator, it is very good to look at this list to see what stats were affected. Next up, we got your Forte tab, or what I like to personally call your skill tree. In this tab, you can identify what skills your Resonator possesses and what they do. In terms of building your Resonator to deal more damage, you want to focus on your skill tree. Each Resonator has a total of 5 skills that can be leveled up all the way up to a maximum of 10. And then branched off those 5 skills that the Resonator possesses, they will give you extra benefits as far as your stats go when you upgrade them as well. Upgrading your skill tree does require lots of resources, so make sure you are pre-farming and farming them as you go on. When leveling up your Resonators, you would typically reach a plateau. This plateau is called your level cap, so in order order to bring that level cap number even higher, you have to do what is called an ascension. Doing an ascension will raise your Resonator's base HP, base defense, and base attack up. Another thing that you must remember is your soul phase level. If you are not focusing on your union level, this will help you reach that plateau that we are trying to avoid. So a couple tips I can give you to improve your union level: you can adventure into the open world, you can do mini games, farm chests, do things in your handy guidebook, or use your wave plates on the boss fights. You can do any of your quests that give you union level XP, and the list really goes on and on. You just want to divide some time until focusing on your union level rank, because it will plateau in certain areas and aspects of this game. What is a sequence node? What are wave bands, and how could they be useful for improving my Resonator's damage overall? So a sequence node is basically getting a duplicate or another copy of a Resonator you already own. It is one of the main reasons why I still use Rover on my main team comp, because Rover's wave bands are very easy to come by, making Rover one of the highest damage potentials you could actually have in all of Wuthering Waves. As far as the early game goes, you could get your sequence level all the way up to level 5, or 5 copies of a certain Resonator. Speaking of which, let's talk about weapons in Wuthering Waves. So if I'm gonna be very honest, I wouldn't worry about any weapons you get at the beginning of your playthrough, because that would be wasted resources leveling those weapons up. Instead, what you could do from the pre-registration rewards, you are given a free 4-star weapon of choice, which you could use on Rover or somebody from the novice banner that you get at the beginning of Wuthering Waves, and then use your resources on leveling up the 4-star weapons instead of using the 2-star and the 1-star weapons from the beginning of the game. It is also very likely that 9 times out of 10, when you are pulling for your novice banner character, which is the free 5-star that is given to you, you will most likely get more 4-star weapons grinding for that as well. Also, the higher rarity weapons will give you better benefits and help you better in the long run anyways. If you look over here at the Lunar Cutter, which I have equipped on my Rover, the Lunar Cutter will increase its attack percentage by 2% up to 6 stacks each time my Rover defeats an enemy, which overall will heighten my Rover's damage output. And just like leveling up your Resonators, you could also level up your weapons as well. But do keep in mind while you're leveling up your Resonators or your weapons that your resources are very scarce. So make sure that when you are upgrading anything in Wuthering Waves, it will actually have long-term value for you, or else you will waste resources over time, leading you to struggle towards the end game if you didn't make the right choice. And similar with the sequence node within Resonators, you could get duplicates of weapons as well, making the weapon have better benefits for the Resonator wielding it. Your team composition is very important in dealing more damage in Wuthering Waves. In your team setup, you can select up to 3 Resonators, and with these Resonators, you can actually get a brief description on what they do and what abilities they have, so that we can form your team composition together. And I do my very best to try to keep them all at a different element, because if you run into an enemy that has the same element as your Resonator, that enemy will be immune to that specific Resonator's attacks. The best way to build your own team composition together is to get a better understanding of your Resonators. So do yourself a favor and read what they do, read the skills that they have, and form a team composition. If you are the player that's looking for more of a temporary boost of damage, cooking food will help all your Resonators on your current team composition deal more damage. So I will highly suggest while in the open world of Wuthering Waves to collect all those plants that you see out there and hunt all those animals. Another cool thing to know is that specific Resonators actually have different cooking values depending on the dish you're trying to cook. So before using your resources on those dishes, I would suggest looking at the list of Resonators that you have, because ultimately what can happen is that Resonator could cook a better dish than your other Resonators and create a special dish which will have extra beneficial value. And over time, you do acquire extra rewards when you do cook dishes, so I would suggest doing it. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the combat within Wuthering Waves. And the reason being is it could not even be the damage output that you're struggling with. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, it is very easy to get into the habit of just mashing your buttons around and not actually putting any skill towards the game. However, if you do want to enjoy Wuthering Waves even more, I will suggest 2 tips for you. Tip number 1 is the Elden Ring procedure. Understanding how you are about to be hit or how the enemy is attacking is very crucial in Wuthering Waves, and to be honest is the most satisfying and best way to play the game, as it will give you the full immersive feel into the combat that Wuthering Waves has to offer. As you guys are watching along here, I'm getting absolutely annihilated by Crownless, but the important thing is I'm trying to understand how Crownless attacks so that way I could get that full immersive feel that I'm looking for. So if Kuro Games really wanted you to be overpowered and just defeat enemies based off basic attacks, this game might as well just be Genshin Impact. Not only understanding the way your enemy attacks will improve your immersive feel overall, but if you are a hardcore gamer and you really want to get really good at the game, then this is my warning to stop button mashing right now. So take my warning as you please. You could be a casual gamer or you could be a hardcore gamer. If you're a casual gamer, you just want to play the game however you want to play it, then just play the game. But trust me, the game feels a whole lot different when you are able to dodge and parry everything. Now for the second second tip, you could go into your guidebook under Path of Growth and do some skill training. A lot of gamers will overlook this because it's just a tutorial, but to be quite honest, it's not just a tutorial. Having an overall proper understanding on how your resonator attacks and Wuthering Waves will lead you to better combat. So from time to time when you unlock a new resonator, or when you are just trying to get a better feel for the current resonator you are using, I would stop by the tutorial area. And then once you have a proper understanding of how every attack works on every single resonator on a given team, and understanding your enemies' movements and how they attack you will give you a whole different gameplay feeling, which honestly, in my opinion, is the full Wuthering Waves experience. Well, that is all I got for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the subscribe button down below so you can find your way back to my channel. Leave a like and comment down below if you learned anything new. And as always, thank you for watching. Peace!